Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to be talking about Marry My Husband. It's the hit drama right now in Korea, the latest K-drama. If you're looking for a K-drama recommendation, you don't need to go any further. You need to watch Marry My Husband. It sounds like a weird title, and it's on TVN in Korea. And then you always wonder, okay, if you're overseas, which streaming platform is it on? This time, it's on Amazon Prime. If you don't have Amazon Prime, I got you in the description. There's a code for a free 30-day trial. So if you can binge watch it and you can binge watch it in 30 days, by all means, go ahead. I don't think Bezos is going to go after you, but it's on Amazon Prime, and all of the episodes now have been uploaded and completed. So there's no cliffhangers. That's why we're going into it. This is such a genre follower and breaker at the same time. This one is like amazing. Right off the bat, how do you know a K-drama has quality? Or why do so many K-dramas satisfy people around the world? I think it comes down to immediately you know what the main character is fighting for. Why are you watching? What kind of skin do they have in the game? What are they hoping to accomplish? And then also really what happened to them that sucks, that you actually really resonate with, and you are hoping and rooting for that main character to succeed, but you're like, oh, are they gonna really succeed? And then immediately you know what world this drama is in and what the rules of this world are. Very quickly, through very good writing, a lot of good information. It's like a lot of information at once that you can digest. So, just like a really good meal or dish, there can be very simple food that's good, but then very complex food that was like way too much. I couldn't digest that. And then really complex food that's just like, that just went in and wow, that was amazing. I don't even know how to describe all the flavors. Well, that's essentially a K-drama when it's really blasting on all engines. And I would say basically it was blasting on 95% of all the engines in Marry My Husband. The main premise that I think really I was shocked by, because I was like, okay, K-drama, you never cease to amaze me, but I'm always going to be skeptical of what are you going to do now that's going to be different? How can you create, and this is somewhat of a Cinderella story. So you'll see that a lot of K-dramas is familiar yet different. So how do you take a familiar Cinderella, concept and then spin it into something amazing that I'm like, whoa, that's amazing, and yet I can understand right away? Yeah, time travel. A time travel in Cinderella. But, now this is where I'm really impressed. They only time travel 10 years. 10 years back. So it really gives you the premise of what would you do, actually, if you can travel back in time 10 years, and exactly 10 years. I would think that, if there was a writer's meeting, people would just be really arguing, 10 years is not enough time. 10 years, that's nothing. Usually when you see Back to the Future, it's 50 years, or they went 100 years, they went 70 years into the future, things like that, where you can see a huge difference. But 10 years is really sophisticated. So it's not only a time travel, but really 10 years, why I think that was actually quite genius was that it's enough time where it's not too much, not too little, and you really reflect upon what is happening in my life today right now, that actually I really know how I got here from 10 years ago. And if there's a coulda, woulda, should've, I think if you're always regretting coulda, woulda, should've, I think 10 years actually is quite a optimal number of years to go back in time if you were given that opportunity to settle scores or to fix things or change your path, because you get to see how it played out. And that was the big premise. So not going to really do so much spoilers, because right in the beginning, this is the premise. You get to see the end, and then you get to see how they got to the end, but it's a different end because they went back in time, and so they had an alternate 2023. So we see in 2023, in the original version, the main character, she is sick, and she walks in on her husband cheating with her best friend. So your best friend, your husband lover, betrays you, and you have been tricked this whole time. So that's the whole 10-year thing, because during this whole 10 years, it's kind of this concept of you really were giving the benefit of the doubt, and you ended up losing, because all of those times where you're just like, well, I don't know, I can't really I can't exactly prove it, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt. This is one of those satisfying dramas of like, no, I know what happens to me, like, basically, like in the original version of 2023, you see this in the first episode, she dies. That's how she got into the alternate version of 2013 to, then live out the next 10 years according to a new vision. And how would you go about your own life? Like, put that in the comments below. What would you do differently if you knew now how certain relationships played out, how certain situations played out, how perhaps you were like hoodwinked, tricked, manipulated, or, given anything false? How would you go back in time and 10 years and see those same people and see like, okay, this is where you're trying to set up those dominoes to fall in a certain direction. And I know that you're not going to change. So it's that kind of fantasy of, I know who you are, though you're pretending to be somebody else. I know exactly who you are because you tried to kill me. Actually, you did kill me. You killed me. So she's going back in time, and we get to see how, like, what happens when you try to then, it's not really about altering the future. That's the cool part about this, because in this kind of situation, it'd be like, well, like, even if, like, let's say in 2023, you're just like, I don't like what happened to me, but I needed to go through that so I can learn and grow. I would think when you're writing this, I'd be like, how would they make it so that if they go back into 2013, they wouldn't like skip any of the lessons that they would get from this? Somehow they made it work where they are going through the same situations, but this time they're standing up for themselves. This time they are leaning into the instinct of protecting themselves and being more skeptical, rather than in the original version of where she dies, being generous and being too trusting of people. And so it shows like what you still have to go through struggles, because it's not going to be 100% easy. And that's what I loved about how they made this, this whole character arc and story arc. Even with that foreknowledge, it wasn't easy, but there was also like a lot of other genres. So I said, it's Cinderella, it's time travel. They even folded in high school bullying, like, which could be its own drama, but they put it in like a subplot, like flashback, like it was nothing. These writers are amazing. Where it did fall through, I think, was when like there was no conflict. It was all lovey-dovey. But in terms of it being, they're calling it like a slow burn romance, that was very satisfying. It shows a lot of issues like insurance fraud, in-laws, domestic violence, adultery, cooking, fashion, prison, courtroom, everything is in here. and you get really cool, like this magical realism. And it's very interesting to see stylistically turning back the clock 10 years, because it is enough time for like there to be there is a variation in the fashion. And I thought that they were so precise in it, because the haircut, if you can imagine 10 years ago, is not drastically different, but there was a 2013 look that's different than the 2023 look. I thought they captured that really well. The casting is amazing in this. The main character, played by Park Min-young, she did an amazing job. The acting, all of the actors are great, except for some of the criticism was really laid out at the pop stars who are acting, Boa and Lee Gi-kyung from History, I believe. And they've acted before. So, and it's not as if they did a bad job. I think what happened is that they were in the same vicinity of really good Korean drama actors who don't make it look like they're trying so hard. And you can kind of see a bit of a difference. It didn't really bother me too much, but I think what happens with really good Korean actors is that there's layers upon layers with their expressions and their acting. So even though it seems simple and they're, achieving, the lines and like, getting through the story, there's a lot there. Whereas like when the, the pop stars who, they're just used to like delivering that note, right? So like when they're acting, like there's fewer layers. So they hit it, but it's not like rich and multi-layered. And you don't even think the other ones are doing rich and multi-layered. They just look so realistic. That's the other thing. The casting was extremely realistic. The Busan bully girls, they looked like they were from Busan. The husband that was like the adulterer and abuser, he looks like some dude in the office. His mom looked like some. I was like, do I know that woman? And there's a lot of motifs of glass. I never want to see another glass coffee table, but if you see like there's glass conference room, glass windows, always kind of glass. Even like the romantic interest, the rich chaebol owner's grandfather, this was living in a house, like a glass house. But if you notice, that was like the same glass house that I think they used in Vincenzo and maybe even Sky Castle. I don't know why K-drama actors or writers think that, like, I don't know, they all think that like maybe like the rich people live in glass houses. So they're so careful about what they do. So if you recognize, that building, it's probably part of a golf course, to be honest. Usually that's where it is. So it's just very thought-provoking, I think, this drama, because it really blends time travel and then the workplace frustration, the dynamics, and then this romance. But really, it's a revenge. It's like a revenge Cinderella. What would happen if Cinderella took revenge and she was able to time travel and, be like, I know what your wicked stepsisters are up to. I know what that wicked stepmother is up to. Okay. And so what would you do armed with the foreknowledge? Because I think this will really satisfy those people who, let's say 10 years ago, you're just like, look, that person, that situation, or, I warned you guys, this is how it would play out, and nobody believed you. Or if you were one of those people who are just like, oh man, like I kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt a lot, and this is how it played out. I wish I was smarter than that. Well, this kind of gives you a bit of that fantasy of like coulda, woulda, shoulda, if you had that foresight, and then you go back and then you try to right the wrongs. And you see how, like, if you take yourself out of the equation, right? If you're the generous person who's being used or being the one that has to cover for everybody else, giving them the benefit of the doubt. If you actually just remove yourself from the equation, you can see how in this world, according to these rules, the fate or the way it shifts. So like the bad thing that happened to you by being so generous actually shifts upon the people who like are sucky, and they have to play it out. Or it may transfer to somebody who's not so sucky, but they actually end up in a better position or a winning despite that challenge, because you were there to help the right person, the good person. So what would you do like, 10 years ago? What would I should, instead of like supporting and believing and being tricked by the narcissist or by the jerk or the manipulator, I should have, sided with the victim and the person that was, trying to do good. That's what I should have done. And so that also shows, in this drama, that kind of satisfying turnabout, if you kind of are able to do that. So I don't want to give too much away, but I think at the core of it, like if you're in that kind of a mood about like, going back 10 years, never thought that a drama would ever do like a 10-year thing. I think the most I've ever seen was maybe like a 20-year thing, but like, a 10-year, cool, really cool. Really, really, really cool. And then, you don't have to have so much complicated stuff with the aging factor of the actors. Spend all your time in the makeup chair. Very cool. Anyhow, so what do you guys think? Did you guys see this? If you saw this, put your comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to see it, remember there's a link down below for a free trial to Amazon Prime where you can catch all the episodes and then say how you feel. Like, what did you like? What did you not like? And, if there was like a sequel, what would you want from it? Remember, it came from a webtoon. So if you saw the webtoon or if you read the webtoon, put your comments below as well. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. See you guys again next time. Bye-bye, guys.